So we stand in front of Dollar Tree and basically
such as this thing here.
All right, I'm excited to have a guest.
A piece of metal right here, of course, every one is.
Cuba is like they're under a dictator.
RTD Live Talk, Detroit's #1 YouTube talk show. We are live for a Tuesday edition of the People's Talk Show. Looking forward to connecting and finding out what you guys have been keeping an eye on. Lots of stories unfolding as always. There's never a dull moment in the alternative media space, but I will do the best I can to try to share my 2 cents on some things that caught my attention. And then when the phone lines open up, I'd love to hear from you guys directly. And so let me check in via chat real quick and acknowledge any people for taking time to bless me with their presence. And as also, and always rather, if you're new to the community, want to welcome you. Make sure you let me know where you're watching from via chat. Love to give you a quick shout out. Then when the phone lines open up, the number is 313-462-0027. You can call and let your voice be heard. All right, let's keep going. All right, we got Carl checking in. We got Ed. See you. Let's get it straight. The Ukrainian army is in shambles. There's no Air Force or Navy either. The puppet of Zelensky isn't even running the country, let alone military operations, or can believe the mainstream media. Ed, I personally, I find it quite comical that I'm hearing reports from the Western media saying that Russia has lost. Oh, I think I saw a report saying Russia has lost over 23,000 troops. And I'm thinking like, wow, like, okay, like who in their right mind would actually believe that other than the people who are not too in tune with the greater agenda at play. So more props to you there, my friend. Definitely. It's hard to determine what's real from what's fake. That's why it's up to each and every one of us individually to do our own research and come to our own conclusions, but realize what you're being told is ultimately not the real story. Okay, keep it moving. We got Armo checking in. Appreciate you. We got Clec Torres. Appreciate you. Germany is cutting its oil supply from Russia. Germany is cutting its oil supply from Russia, but not until January. That is barring or pending based upon Russia's most recent announcement of Putin's putting the world on notice. We're going to touch on that as well, but it might be a possibility of Germany being cut off before they are able to remove themselves from Russian energy, but we'll see. All right, low blood pressure checking in. We got Urban Sombrero checking in. Free Thinker, appreciate you. Rolf, Will Smith. We got Starfire checking in. Appreciate you. We got Janine, if I'm not saying that incorrectly, appreciate you. Thanks for being a part of the community. Rob B, Simon, Joanne. Okay, fair amount of people here. Appreciate everybody for blessing with your presence. As always, if you don't mind, hit the thumbs up button, show your support for the channel. It won't be long today, running behind due to just a gang of things I'm trying to juggle at once, but I'll do the best I can to connect, and definitely wanted to make sure I do that as soon as possible. So as always, if you have not already, click the subscribe button and the bell notification. Hopefully you're notified when we go live, so you'll always be able to stay plugged in, and we'll keep things moving. All right, so let me just start off by talking about the interview. If you have not had a chance yet, I encourage you to take a moment and glance through, watch the article or the interview I just did moments ago with JP Cortez from the Sound Money Defense Project. It's a lot more activity being taken on in the States in reference to bringing gold and silver to the forefront with new legislation, ultimately removing the taxation off of it so that people can, get in and out without having to actually have their money taxed. And so great discussion there. Lots of states are moving forward, man, and more than I was aware of. So if you have interest, definitely check that out. He's a wealth of knowledge, and definitely you can learn something from that interview. And also share the interview if you don't mind. Share the interview so more people can find out what's going on, because most people don't even know the role of gold and silver in and as far as money, period, nevertheless, in the States. So just something there. All right, let's keep it moving. So I came across an article that I wanted to share, and it has to do with Putin basically calling some shots. And I'll get to. I got a couple more graphs. I was working on a couple different graphs, but I got one that I'm trying to verify because the numbers just seem too unreal. But anyway, so I put together a little visual aid. Let me see. Last minute, where'd I go? I'm everywhere now. I'm everywhere. Okay, give me 1 second here. Let me get back to my main screen. Okay, forgive me. Okay, so let me just throw this up here real quick. So I put together a little visual aid to just highlight some of the possible scenarios of things that could play out. Of course, no relevant order, but just a list of things that might be on the Putin to-do list. And so the very first one is about the article I'm going to share with you in a moment, but it's create a new list for sanctions. That's something that he's putting on his list. And then the second one, get rid of the remaining dollar reserves, whatever they're holding on to. There's no need in holding another country's liabilities if it's not good for anything at the end of the day when they're done doing what they're trying to do. Second one is call Xi and set the date for the new payment system. And then the fourth one is the BRICS demand an official global gold holdings meeting. And so those are some things that I just put out there as possibilities that they have already set in motion. But just trying to make light of it a little bit. But it is what it is. But let's move on to the primary article. It says Putin puts the West on notice. Moscow can terminate exports and deals. So not only has there been some retaliation from Putin over how their country's been treated, as well as the reserves being stolen. So he's clapping back even more. So the first official clapback was an announcement of them not paying in dollars or euros. They're going to pay in rubles, and they'll make sure everything comes out of the country is paid for in rubles as well. But due to more sanctions being sent his way, he's up in the ante as well, saying that now, today, he announced that he's given his cabinet permission to create another list furthering the sanctions outside of the people who've already been put on the Russian naughty list. And so what is interesting about this particular list or round of sanctions coming out of Russia is the fact that here talking about basically eliminating things, leaving the country, period, heading towards those unfriendly nations, as well as basically dismantling or cutting up all current deals. So basically making null and void all contracts where we're not going to pay you anything, and we're going to solely rely upon you. If you want anything from us, you're going to have to give us what we need, and it has nothing to do with anything other than gold or rubles. And so that could be the ultimate blow to the euro and dollar system at some point down the line. But interesting article here. I was just thumbing through it momentarily, but it just says here, Russian Vladimir Putin put the West on notice today. He could terminate exports and deals with criminal toughest response yet to the sanctions burden imposed by the United States and allies in Russia. Go down even a bit more. It says here, the Russian government has 10 days to draw up a list of those it will sanction beyond Western politicians it has already sanctioned. It says Putin explicitly framed the decree as a response to what he cast as an illegal action to the United States and his allies meant to deprive, quote, the Russian Federation, citizens of the Federation, and the Russian legal entities of property rights or the restricting of their property rights. So as we move further into this great reset agenda that's underway, property rights. I've mentioned this several times, how what the response to the Russian oligarchs is the phase one of how at some point the rest of humanity will be treated, because if you can come together as all these governing bodies, all these nations, and basically confiscate or steal billionaires' funds, what would make a person think that they couldn't steal a average working person or average Joe's property under the cover up of whatever cause they're trying to create? Because if it's done in a uniform nature, well, all nations come together and do it. That type of stuff is possible rather. So property rights is of major concern. And in response to that, that's what's happening with Putin right now. So anyway, a couple more things here. Let me see. I meant to highlight some stuff here. But I'll save you guys the rest. If you guys are interested, you can read more for yourself. But let's move on to the next one. And I wonder if this has anything to do with it. But it says EU threatens Russia with a fresh, swift sanction restriction. So it says more Russian banks will be disconnected from the global banking communications system. SWIFT, the EU High Representative, warned yesterday. It says in the banking sector, there will be more Russian banks that will be leave SWIFT. And he said he was yet to be able to disclose the names of those target institutions. And so EU is working on the sixth package of financial sanctions against Moscow that he hoped could be agreed upon later this month. So 6 packages of sanctions. So it puts Russia and all the other nations holding on to euros, dollars. It puts everybody on notice that if you don't hold what you think is yours or have direct access to it, it technically is not yours. And that, right, to me, is more of an indication as to why the de-dollarization process will be sped up even more head into the summer, just because I think a lot of this stuff will need to be completely ironed out heading into next winter, because next winter is when the energy crisis will probably be at its highest peak due to the energy cost at that time, depending on what it might be. It's going to be extremely high, in my opinion, barring some type of unforeseen deflationary crash that is on the horizon. So just more reason that for those that are able to try to wrap up, secure as much of what you might need in a timely manner, because you never know what might come about. But once again, you cannot be completely shielded from the chaos that will ensue, just because at this current way of life, we're all interconnected at some capacity, needing something from within or in relation to the system. So anyway, a couple more articles there. Let me just get through this one here, and I'll open the phone lines. Here's another one here. It says, Russia's move to gold may jolt your company. So ultimately, this is basically talking about how we have a Western economist talking about how Russia's response is kind of smart on their end, because it put them in a position where they now can start changing the rules of the game, therefore forcing the world to recognize and acknowledge what's going on. Therefore, companies from the West that do business with countries that are closer to Russia might end up needing to utilize rubles, especially if the bordering countries or anything of that nature use rubles to do business with Russia. That means that at some point they're going to start charging their customers in rubles to kind of counterbalance the or offset the cost, rather. So ultimately, it could cause more of an increase of cost of goods and services on the Western side that will ultimately drive more people towards rubles. So that's interesting format here, but more information there if you're interested. Then let's jump into a little bit of what's happening in the U.S. And I meant to mention this yesterday, but got away from it. But more measurements of the true health, rather, of our economy came out yesterday. And I meant to touch on it, but I'll just glance through it real quick. But this is from Rolf Wichter. It says, U.S. manufacturers says inflation is out of control, has not peaked, but intensified amidst strong demand, shortages, and lengthening lead times. So this has to do with the recent PMIs released yesterday. And based upon the PMI producers, product manufacturers index, it's a 4 or 5 or so different metrics that come up with a score on the health of the manufacturing sector for the U.S. economy. And so out of all those indicators, every single measuring tool to give that final number was all trending down, which just shows that the more of the slow crawling of the economy, therefore the contraction of the economy in its entirety, leading to more problems. At the same time, the Federal Reserve is hiking or going to hike, as if it even really matters at this point. So, but just to indicate what's going on, said the S&P Global U.S. Manufacturing PM for April, whatever. So spare you guys that. Next article here said fears of a Fed mistake grows as this week's anticipated interest rate hike looms. So, it's like some of these headlines, man. They're just like they I don't know. It's hard to read, but they're trying to make it seem like it's a suspenseful, like this is like the suspense is killing them. Like, what will happen? Who knows? Like, what could happen when you're removing accommodations from a economy that's built upon more debt? Like, it seems quite obvious to me. Like, I don't have to be a PhD economist, but I don't know. Maybe it might be more complicated on within all that. So I don't know. I just yeah. Anyway, keep it moving. Last 2 articles here. I'll stop boring you guys, but just more indications as to the so-called instruments that have been utilized for the last several decades as the primary measurements of economic and financial success in this country. on top of real estate. Stocks and bonds are falling in lockstep at a pace unseen in decades. I'll let you guys decipher through that if you like. And then what it doesn't help, but it doesn't help when a billionaire trader, Paul Tudor Jones, says investors should preserve capital now. Clearly, you don't want to own bonds or stocks. And this is from Yahoo. So Paul Tudor Jones, I've been following him for quite some time. And, he's sitting heavy in cash, waiting on the fire sale to occur so he can come buy up cities, along with Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, and all those other billionaires that are sitting on large stockpiles of fiat for the last fire sale before the Great Reset officially kicks in. So that's what's happening on the surface. But anyway, let's talk. As always, want to make sure I provide an opportunity for everyone to let their voice be heard. Lots of things worth touching on. Of course, the Roe versus Wade situation is deliberately, it's deliberately making the headlines so everybody and mother can talk about it as if 50-something or almost 50 years later, our country has finally come to Jesus moment and realizing the sanctity of life and want to dial back and do things differently. I don't think so. I personally believe it's a setup. It's a trap. And I was watching, I think it was Steve Manchin, or I think it was earlier, a little snippet. And he was talking about how, trying to be like he was mad that the Supreme Court is, something leaked saying that that's where things are heading. And I'm like, but the one word he said that stood out to me that I was going to do a little snippet and cut it out. But he said that it removes the rights for women to maintain their bodily autonomy. And I'm like, wow. To me, that says a lot. But how convenient is it that all of a sudden this particular court case and everything that's come from that, millions of lives have been lost. And all of a sudden now we have probably the most corrupt and the most liberal Supreme Court probably ever, because of all the people that's been on there. They all compromise in some capacity. I would like to have some type of confidence in at least one or two or three of them, but based upon the prior actions and them not being able to oversee this prior election event when there was more than enough information present to cause question in the results, and there was a no-brainer that they didn't want to see that one, and of course many other things. But Justice Roberts, he was on, him and Epstein was good boys, but good buddies, several trips to the island. So you can't really trust none of these people nowadays. So why now? And how did a leak occur at a time like this, other than it being deliberately done to distract and to divide further, causing more of a distraction amongst other issues that are surfacing? At the same time, the World Health Organization right now, they're about to begin voting on a treaty to basically override all governments so that they can try to somehow build the framework for the response to making sure everybody is mandated to participate in the furthering of the injection process. So, yeah, it puts a good position. It puts politicians and all the other groups in good position to say that you no longer have body autonomy because your body doesn't belong to you. That's what it says to me. The government now wants to step out and say that you don't have a right to your own body, i.e., women, and they want to play like they're mad about it. But in actuality, they need that stuff to go through. It makes their case a lot easier. So TB, even with the 6 Republicans on the Supreme Court, I don't dive too deep down those rabbit holes, but I don't really see much that convinces me that overall those individuals there really, really are interpreting the Constitution minus their agendas or being influenced by external forces. Given the fact that just look at the direction of our country, like look at the shape we're in now. Everything goes. There's no boundaries to what people are allowed and willing and able to do. It's just completely godless. It's unbearable. It's unsustainable. And it starts with those who are supposed to interpret the Constitution, not necessarily define it and create a new. But anyway, hello, caller. Which name are you calling from?
Hi, Mike. This is coolest white dude in Yashkaba, Mexico. How are you?
Doing good, my man. What's on your mind? Give me a quick thought.
Well, I want to talk about fetuses.
Okay.
The price of the bioweapon
Mm-hmm.
is going up. I'm just a simple guy, barely understand supply and demand.
Mm-hmm.
But the bioweapon is made partially from fetuses.
Mm-hmm.
Am I correct?
There's a portion of that amongst many other things that we don't know in its entirety, but it's a part of it, yeah.
Okay, so less fetus is, wouldn't that mean the price is going to go up? I mean, this stuff is so sick, but I also want to talk a little bit about Moderna. Moderna is a new corporation. I've traded many stocks, and I was thinking, I've never heard of this company.
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing a little research. This is their first drug that they brought to market.
Very first, 100%.
Yes, and Fauci owns the patent on that. That's per Jim Rickards. Okay?
Yeah.
This stuff is so sick of what they're doing. And it's so out in the open. I mean, the emperor is wearing no clothes here. And for these people, whether it's like guys like Mike Adams that are going to support Trumpster, don't they remember Operation Warp Speed? The 60 Minutes interview that shows all the files. I mean, this stuff was already made many, many moons ago.
Right.
There's an old thing from LBJ. Don't piss down my back and tell me it's raining.
Yeah, man. Good points, man. Hey, I appreciate you, man. We get some more calls in. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you, my friend.
Yep. Be good.
Thank you.
Yep.
Take care.
Yeah. Hey, it's the People Talk Show. Feel free to give me a call and let your voice be heard as always. And TB, 100% correct. Supreme Court did not do this to our country, no doubt. But, by them, they played a role in it, put like that. All branches of the government played a role in it, put like that. Because at this current moment, there's been a lot of external influence from the people who control the currency, in a sense, and those that are closest to Wall Street and things like that have a major say-so in what happens in D.C., i.e. lobbyists, the people who actually write the legislation that's voted on. It's always written and voted on by the same people who benefit, and it's not us. So over time, it has a compounding effect. And look at our country now. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hello, Picture Corpus Christi. Shout out to Yashaba, Mexico.
LBP, what's going on, man?
Hey, Mike, this whole food shortage, this is manufactured. There's just too many damn coincidences, Mike.
Oh, I wouldn't have it. I wouldn't see it no other way.
Now, look, Mike, I ordered from Sam's Club. That last 5 orders online, there's been problems with every single order where they send me half of the stuff. And it's all food items, And this whole thing in what do you call it? This whole thing over there in Shanghai,
Yeah.
They're keeping all their stuff for a reason. They're shutting it down. They don't want anything exported. Something's coming down the line soon, Mike. Why would China?
Yeah.
Why would China do that?
Yeah, I remember talking about, I think back in November, China told their citizens to stock up on goods and services well before the whole extension of the lockdowns happened there. So that to me was an indicator that they are thinking long term, like they always tend to do. And over here, we're week by week, with our logistics system and everything else. So yeah, yeah, that's doesn't help our situation at all.
Oh, Mike, you got the strawberries planted, Mike?
No, not here in Michigan. That's a no. That's a no. And while you're talking, I found an article that China tells citizens to stock up on supplies, prompting panic buying and was the fears of war. So this was November as of last year. So, and of course, they've been video surfacing on how the CCP has been basically leveraging that whole idea of war based upon the U.S. Taiwan event and using that as like a way to help, I guess, get people to believe them more or something like that, telling them that we're going to war with the U.S., so stock up and stay at home and all the other stuff. So, yeah.
Hey, all right, Mike. Hey, let me know. I got a lot of pelicans in my backyard. If you ever need to eat some pelican, I'll send you one.
Yeah, I'm squirrels, pelicans, fruits, berries. Yeah, anything that grows out in nature, man. I'm all game.
I
Appreciate
haven't
you.
planted my pizza tree yet, though. All right, Mike.
Be good, man. Oh man, good stuff. All right, here's a question. It says from Urban says, Mike, are you still stacking? Yes, I still acquire. And I do it in accordance to trying to take care of all the more important necessities, like the perishable goods, all the food and all that type of things there. Stuff that I know that will definitely go up in price probably next month or next year. So try to get ahead of the curve with that stuff there. And as I've always said before, because of the uncertainty how things will play out, I have my own possible scenarios of the way things will unfold, but I don't want to, spook anybody with that. So I'll keep that to myself in a sense, but ultimately things will get worse before they get better. And I'm of the mindset that not knowing where and how things will unfold, you have to somewhat be able to hit the road if something really jumps off, if you feel led to do so, if the Lord leads you to do so. So there is a limit to how much weight you want to have and be able to, take with you. So depending on what type, whether it's, gold or silver, whatever, of course you move further with gold, or the smaller quantities rather, but there is some room for some digital asset diversification as well, in my opinion. So different strategies for different folks though, but yeah, I still do acquire. All right, let's talk. Give me a call. Thoughts, ideas, suggestions, put it out there. Hello, caller. Which name we calling from? Hello? Maybe not. All right. Give me a call. Must have missed you. Apologize for that. Maybe somebody was still there. Anyway, let's keep it moving. Or throw out some thoughts, ideas in the chat, and I'll try to jump on it. Ed says, I am on the side of food, water, ammo, and shiny things. I hold my hands like, what is that? I hold my hands. Last I heard, you cannot eat or shoot from a crypto wallet no vendor takes. In case you did not notice, we are at war. Good stuff, Ed. Let me see. That Stolen Earth says UK to oh god, too hard to read. UK 2 has tight lips, not warning people of potential difficulties. Tighten like a version. All right, man. That's interesting metaphors you guys are using. Hello, Carlos. Where are you calling from?
What's up, Mike? It's Keenan. I'm calling back.
Keenan, what's going on, man? You got some updates for me?
Nah, I've been asking a couple people around about it. My buddy who's a CPA did say it's pretty interesting the way they did it.
Mm-hmm.
He explained to me kind of what I said yesterday.
Yeah.
That it really comes down to now the rating agencies control the value you're going to get from your bond. So the day they finally say Evergrande is no longer restricted, it's full default. Now you fall into those categories of you own a bond that's not issued by an American or New York Stock Exchange or a government, and if that bond falls within this price range, well, you're going to get 0. Or if it falls in this price range, you'll get 50%.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put your tinfoil hat on, Keenan, but yeah, that's pretty interesting because it wasn't like that a month ago.
Really? But so that method, the way you described it, to me, it sounds like the what you call it, the banking. What is it?
TPTS, yeah.
What is it? I forgot what it is, but the chain of command for the creditors to banks with the deposits, i.e., the shareholders get their first crack at total assets, second tier, third tier, and depositors are at the bottom of the barrel. Like, so basically, you get nothing. You get pennies on a dollar, or you get bailed in with some shares of the company for whatever that's worth. So it kind of sounds like it's around that same line.
So basically, he said it's the banks in a sense playing defense.
Right.
That we're not going to get caught with the bag.
Right.
It's just taking the haircut.
100%.
Like, wow. And then the last thing I'll share with you, during our monthly call, my manager, boss, whatever you want to call it, finally talks about the recession. Right. Everyone's been kind of asking about it, talking about it. He said, "Well, look, guys, we've got a great backlog, and a lot of our, customers have extended orders out until next year." And all I could think of, but that's not in a situation with the credit crunch where all of those orders that are based on debt are going to go bust. I cut my mouth shut. I didn't want to say that bust guy, but it's interesting the narrative that I'm hearing now as people are starting to come to that realization. But
now watch it. So as far as the inventory side of things, did you said you guys are good for that moving forward, or was that a concern? Because the orders are put in for until next year, but what about supply chain issues? Was that factored in or no?
Oh, it's horrible. We're having production shutdowns, and the reason our backlog is so long because I think these companies see inflation, possibly a credit situation where their loans or whatever they have may freeze up, and it's just lead times because of this. I was privy to a 44 PDF Shanghai document that my boss let me eavesdrop on. Obviously, we can't send this information out for competitive reasons. It was bad, and he was actually. They were going into great detail about all the containers in Shanghai and giving people an overall perspective. Those of us that follow, we were kind of like, yeah, no, it's Sherlock. This has been coming for a while, but now you're finally putting it in a presentation from a formal perspective. And all I could think of as I was listening was, what happens when that's car parts, when that's trucking parts, right? I mean, things like that. It's going to get bad.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like it's already baked into the cake, and so and now it's because it's a lagging effect. So it won't be until probably the third quarter, fourth quarter that stuff really starts becoming obvious to where, and like here locally, because we've been in the Motor City area, car parts and stuff like that. We got this first tier, second tier suppliers or whatever. I had to imagine things are already slowing down because the whole semiconductor situation was supposed to be better in certain things. And so, it's just, you never know how stuff is going to play out, but there will not be more stuff, but there'll be a lot more currency probably in the future coming.
You think Powell's going to give it 50 tomorrow?
Why not? Well, at this, and that's where I fail to recognize the significance, whether it's 50 or they do. It's already too late because it's a globally coordinated event of tightening at the same time, and they know they can't tighten a Ponzi scheme. You can't not continue to inflate air into a bubble and expect it to, I guess, continue to expand. It's automatically going to start contracting. So it's they'll never really contain inflation because they can't, because it's a currency issue. So it's I don't know. I don't see the significance in a hike or not, but I understand for the sake of the financial markets and all that stuff, it matters. But yeah, more power to them, man. So the question is, how many more before something gives? And when it gives, will they backtrack? I don't think they're going to backtrack. I think they're going to let this thing come down for a crash landing, blame it on something else, and then there'll be another event, another false flag to distract us for real. Where people will be in pain, financially, but then they'll be distracted to the point where they'll be so dire for mere necessities. Then that's when social chaos and stuff ensues, to where it's all in one event, man. Type of scenario. I hope not.
Order out of chaos.
Sound exactly. Hey, man, appreciate you as always, man. Good to hear your voice, boss.
Hey, take care, sir.
Be good.
Later.
Yeah. Just playing through scenarios like that never is enjoyable, but you have to be realistic, because everybody who's tuned in, I'm assuming you all recognize and see the deliberate attempt from many facets of trying to make things very unstable while lying to the majority to their face. And the economic recovery, do the pundits still use the recovery narrative, or that's faded now because of inflation being the primary focal point? They were supposed to be transitory last year. Yeah, we'll never see anything near 2% inflation again, as if that was supposed to be good. Compound inflation can never correct itself without there being some type of debt jubilee. Yeah, wipe everything clean, give everybody a clean slate, and then start again. That's going to be painful. So, speaking of which, let me just share with you guys something. Based upon the interview I did earlier, I was just going through some files, doing some research, and I came across a visual aid, and I called myself trying to remake it. And once I was done with it, I was just looking at the numbers. I'm like, something just didn't seem right. And so I was looking at with the $20 gold piece to the left in 1932. So I was going back in the history, trying to calculate actual gas, milk, eggs, because these numbers to the left just seem too far gone. So for my mathematicians out there, my statisticians, historians out there, let me know these numbers. Something just didn't add up right. And but regardless, what the key distinction for me, if you look straight down the middle, is from 675 dozen eggs to 6.5 dozen eggs today for a $20 bill. You factor in the total amount of currency lost, purchasing power, rather, I'm sorry. It equates to exactly that 95 or 96, 98, whatever percentile that is thrown out there of purchasing power that lost with, what is it, let's say 3%, or each dollar is worth 2% or 2 cents or whatever it might be. I think that's on the nice end of things. I already think we're below zero because you can't buy anything for a single unit of a currency. But anyway, so just look at these numbers, man. But I had a hard time trying to just validate these numbers here. But this was from a visual aid that I grabbed. I just redid it, and I put the 2022 numbers on. So the 1932 numbers are older. The 2022 numbers are what I'm experiencing right now in a good city of Detroit. But 4.3 gallons of gas for a $20 bill, 5 gallons of milk for a $20 bill, 6.5 dozen eggs for a gallon of gas. And I don't really pay attention to postal much, but a single stamp is 58 cents. So you can only get 34.5 stamps right now. Whereas in that 20 piece way back in the day, a stamp may have been a penny or 2 cents or whatever it might have been. You get 2,700 of those things. But look at the difference, man, of what the type of currency we use factored in with the fiscal policy at play as well, because our government has used the Federal Reserve and the monetary system as a crutch to basically expand itself and make a good portion of the population dependent upon the government, i.e. all the welfare programs, the school situation, and all the other programs, HUD, housing, whatever programs offered to the government is factored into how the weaponization of the Federal Reserve note was needed in order to make that happen. All for what's happening right now. To my opinion, this is all leading us towards the idea of instituting a universal basic income, to where the working class will be completely alleviated just because they want everybody to be subservient to a single government, i.e. our government. It puts the United States government in a bigger position to control things that would allow them to then interconnect with other governments, forming that one world government at some point mentioned in scripture. So everything seems to be on track. Currency is completely, purchasing power is gone. Let me go to my visual aids here. So this is what I'm talking about. That 98% of the purchasing power of the currency gone, and how this current administration might just be the last one. So just a little food for thought, but we all know where this is heading. There's a changing of the monetary order right now, and to something else outside of the Federal Reserve note. The dollar will still be around like it has been for the last 200 years or whatever, but the shape of it is going to change, as well as how much is worth and what you can purchase, as well as how it's perceived internationally. It will not be a reserve asset that people will be required to hold. It will not be something physical that you can hold in your possession, because it's going to be digital, to where it's programmable to CBDC at some point. And then the third one, I forgot whatever the other category I put out there. But anyway, that's what it is. All right, man. Getting ready to dial back. I have some more things to get to. So on the interview side of things, check out the interview from earlier. I had another great discussion with another gentleman. So I'm trying to talk to people who are actually out there trying to make a difference, rather than just, being reactive to what the Federal Reserve does. Will they hike? Will they won't hike? Will they dial back? At this point, as I mentioned before, they won't be able to pull off anything that will be successful for you and I, because they are robbing us, and it all happens through the currency. So I'm talking to people who are out there trying to make a difference by moving legislation forward to get gold and silver taxes removed in certain states, as well as people who are doing things to educate people to put silver and gold in people's hands. So I actually got, some projects I want to work on where I get back out in the streets and have fun, shake some hands, and actually I wouldn't mind, getting some silver and handing it out to the people, just so people can realize the importance of holding something real that's that has, you know, a lot of significant monetary, financial, and social value. But that's just me. But anyway, yeah, I got some projects in mind, and that definitely takes a community to make them things work. So I'll be letting you guys know about it. And if anybody want to donate to help, just to try to reach more people with this good monetary literacy gospel, feel free to do so. But anyway, that's all, people. Be blessed. Be safe. Stay prayed up. Get your weight up. Get your calories up. Definitely. You want to make sure you stay spiritually charged in these uncertain times, and definitely put it all in the Lord's hands, man. But all right, folks, that's all she wrote for tonight. I will see you guys tomorrow, Lord willing. Peace.